Hi, this is Gretchen of A Field at Home, and this video represents my contribution to the Flippin Bunch Harvest Spirits Challenge. I am upscaling or decorating 3 wine bottles. So I washed all of them. This one I removed the label. This was a used bottle, so I removed the labels and wiped everything down with isopropyl alcohol, and then I applied Dixie Belle's Bonding Boss. For this one, I applied the Bonding Boss onto the entire bottle. On the 2 bottles that actually have wine in them, I first covered the labels. I didn't want to cover up any of the labels, so as you can see here, I am going to apply a combination of masking tape and painter's tape on the labels to protect them from the Bonding Boss and the paint that will be applied after. Somehow I found this oddly satisfying. Maybe because tape peels off glass really easily, unlike the labels themselves, which can be extremely difficult to remove. I found actually the best way to remove a label from glass is to first, of course, do the hot water, soaking it, soapy water, etc., and scrape off as much as possible, and then use a combination of oil and baking soda. So I decided to paint the empty bottle, and I wanted to do this gradient from brown to yellow, with going from brown to red to orange to yellow. Most of the painting I did was actually out of range of the camera. Yeah, so you just get to see a little bit of it, but that's okay. I think the technical colors were burnt sienna, vermilion, no, crimson, vermilion, and then it was actually lemon yellow. It was very bright yellow. And so you can see there, at this point then, over on the side, you can see there's a container with some white. That was the paint. You can see that the other bottles up in the bottom right, they were painted with a kind of an off-white color. And so I just combined that a bit more to do the top. And then here I am removing the tape off the labels so that I can begin to apply the decoupage, which I am doing from some napkins I picked up at the Dollar General, I think it was. Nope, it was a Dollar Tree. At any rate, so I got it down to the one layer, just the top layer, and I used a Q-tip that I got wet to outline the part that I wanted to use in the decoupage. And that would allow me to easily tear the part I wanted, since it's relatively fine. And I didn't want to waste all of those. I was hoping I would only have to use one napkin. And so then I tore that apart, and after that I will use the same technique to go around individual shapes, of leaves, leaf clusters and acorns and that. And I did only need this one napkin. I did have to straighten up the edge because I kind of changed what I wanted to do with that border. So I ended up having to trim bits of it. And then I had a bit of a time trying to line up the plaids on the corners, and yeah, it taxed my exacting mind because it didn't line up just right. But it's just a dollar store napkin design, so I think I was asking a bit much of it. Anyway, so this was actually kind of fun, and didn't take them very long to dry, because of course I had to wait for the pieces to dry before I could actually apply them onto the bottles. And here you see me trimming, trimming, trimming. And here I'm applying with a very, very thin layer of matte Mod Podge. Because I was quite concerned about the napkin being so thin, and in my prior experience, I tended to use far too much. So I thought I'd try it with a thin layer, and that actually worked very well for this. I didn't have any tears. In fact, I had a bit of difficulty tearing something when I needed to on the plaid corners. But yeah, no, this technique worked out well, and I used Kat from Owling Dog Designs, her paper towel pillow, saran wrap pillow technique to kind of smooth a lot of them out. Some of them just my fingers, but that worked very well. And then this one, I should not have cut that. I should have left it whole, but I did end up having to put some slices in to make it curve. So I suppose it worked out well, but it would have been easier if I just left it as one large piece. And then I did need to cut a little bit around in order to keep the lettering visible on the back of the label. This is a kind of an odd-shaped label. Didn't cover evenly across the bottle. And I think if I had to do it over again, I think I might do a stamp in a grayscale, some sort of stamping design. So here off camera, I hot glued some burlap style ribbon to the top of this bottle, mostly so that I would be able to easily insert these, faux fall beads, or berries, sorry, not beads, to get them into the little holes. And I just used this little, I don't know, plier things. This one I decided to do leaves and a little tiny pumpkin on top. It kind of stands out with the black label. I did need to just kind of hot glue the leaves together a little closer. I played around a little bit, and that turned out to be the best design. I also wanted to have two lighter, so I used some different the way they came on this, crazy, again, it was a dollar store purchase. Interesting design, I would say. But so I think the last time I used this glue gun was approximately 26 years ago. And it was much hotter then, and I burned myself, and I therefore hadn't used it since. But it's much weaker now, so all good. Now, again, off camera, unfortunately, I had a problem. It didn't record. I applied antiquing wax and kind of blended the colors. They weren't, they were a little too slippery. And then I painted the little embossed bell on the glass with some bronze paint and kind of bronzed up the the bow, which I had made previously, so then I had to attach it. That's why I didn't just tie it onto the bottle itself. I didn't know what I was going to do with the bow, but turns out I could have just, would have been easier to just tie it onto the bottle. Then here I'm just cutting up a whole bunch of pretty fall colored leaves to put into a bottle that I had painted black, applied antiquing wax to, and attached a couple of Star of Anise that were about 3 years old and 2 years out of expiration, supposedly. But my husband bought a brand new bottle, so I thought, well, might as well use these for crafts. And here are the 3 new bottles that I'd created. I think they turned out pretty good. I like them. Pretty fall colors. I will say they are a tad bit brighter in person, but I hope you like them. I couldn't get a video showing, like, going around the bottle for some reason. It corrupted when I tried to load it, so I just took pictures of each side so you could see the decoupage, the items, and how I had applied them. They're a bit rustic looking, but that's kind of what I wanted to go with. That's sort of how I think of fall. Things very colorful, but starting, some of my favorite colors, but starting to, of course, die off. Yeah. I do like that stripe. But as I said, this was not a symmetrical bottle, so that was a challenge for me because my brain tends to like the symmetry, even though it's not always the most aesthetically pleasing. And then there you can see the Star of Anise on the bottle. This was actually an olive oil, or no, maybe not an olive oil bottle, grapeseed oil, I think, is what it was. Please check out the other creators in the playlist linked in the description.